Okay, so today's paper is Algebra versus Geometry, Day 2. So this is your title at the top of the paper. Algebra versus Geometry, Day 2. So we're going to start with number 3. And that's kind of weird, I know. I don't care what order your numbers are on your paper. So you can have number 3 at the top. We'll go back and do 1 and 2 later. So here's number 3. It's 3 parentheses 2x plus 7 equals 5 parentheses x plus 6x. So we talked about this yesterday. This is an equation, right? Because it's a number sentence, a math sentence, that has an equal sign in it. So since it has an equal sign in it, it's called an equation. And then you can't see the directions. They're at the top of the paper that I didn't pass out yet, but they say solve. So what does it mean to solve the equation? Yeah, Judah? Yeah, find the solution. Good. And so that means find the x value. And then if you plug that x back in, it'll make it true. All right, so anybody have any idea what we should do to solve this one? Yeah, Alex? So first thing to do is distribute. Good. The 3 is in front of the parentheses, and the 5 is in front of the parentheses, so we're going to distribute. So we're going to take the 3 and multiply it in, and we're going to take the 3 and multiply it in again. So 3 times 2x is 6x. And 3 times 7 is 21. So the first step on this problem is to distribute. And when we distribute the left side, we get 6x plus 21. Okay, and then we're also going to distribute the right side. So we're going to take the 5 and distribute it. And 5 times x is 5x. And 5 times 6x is 30x. All right, so nice work. The first step was distributing. All right, now what? Yes, Matt. Combine like terms. Awesome. So the like terms are the 5x and the 30x, right? So that'll combine to be 35x. So first step was distribute. And then second step was to combine like terms. Now you might be tempted to combine the 6x and the 35x. But you can't do that right now because they're on different sides of the equal sign, right? Sometimes people go ahead and make that 41x. It's a typical mistake. But you can't do that because these are on different sides of the equal sign. Okay, but so I thought I saw a hand. Somebody had an idea on what to do. Yeah, Jennifer, what should we do? Good. You do want to get the x's together. But in order to get them together, you need to subtract it over here because then it crosses out the 6x, right? Same thing over here. You subtract the 6x. Because when you're in algebra, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So since we subtracted 6x on the left, we also have to subtract 6x on the right. So that's nice. That'll cross out over here. So all we'll have is 21. And then 35 minus 6 is 29. So we'll have 29x over there. All right, so we distributed, then we combined like terms, and then we subtracted the 6 over to get all the x's together. And then what's the last step? Yes, Emma. Good. What should I divide by? Good. Divide by 29. Sometimes people accidentally divide by 21 because it's over here on the left, right? But since the 29 is with the x, that's why we divide by the 29. So that'll cross that out, and we'll have x equals. Yeah, and Kieran's got his calculator out, so what do you get when you take 21 divided by 29?
A really long decimal number,
Mm-hmm.
which is 0.72 41379
Yeah, exactly. So it's like 0.72 and then a bunch of other stuff, which would be annoying to write down, right? So instead, I'm going to write the fraction. So it would be okay to put down that big decimal here. It doesn't bother me at all because it's the right answer. But this is less to write if you put 21 over 29 as a fraction. So either way, if you divide it out on your calculator and get a decimal like Kieran did, it's totally fine. It's just going to be like 10 numbers long. Or you can just write this. Awesome. So what this means is if I took this 21 over 29 and put it back in here for x and put it where these two x's are, the left side would come out to the same as the right side. So that means it's the solution. I'm not going to check that because 21 out of 29 is such a nasty number. I don't want to multiply it by 6 and add it and then multiply it by 2, etc. But it would work. The left side would come out to the same number as the right side. That's what the solution is. So that means we've solved this. Everybody good on that one? Okay. Next one I'd like to do is number 5. So number 5 is x plus 5, x minus 5 equals 39. All right, so any ideas on what I should do first on this problem? It's kind of like this one because there's parentheses, right? But it's a little bit different because there's two things in the parentheses. You got an idea, Charlie? It's okay if you don't. All right. Rachel?
Would you like distribute the x to the other x and then 5 and 5?
It's like two distributing problems. Nice, Rachel. So over here, we had to distribute the 3 to everything. And this is similar. We're going to distribute the x to everything. And then later, we're going to distribute the 5 to everything. All right, so let's do the x first. So x times x is x squared. And x times negative 5 is negative 5x. So since there's parentheses, we're distributing. And the first thing we did was we distributed the x to this. So x times x and x times negative 5. Is everybody okay with that first step where I got that stuff? Okay, so we distributed the x to here. Now we're going to distribute the 5 to there. So that's going to give us 5x and negative 25. So this part is from distributing the 5, and this part is from distributing the x. Is everybody okay? That's a little bit tricky. Remember, I'm impressed if you admit when you don't know something, like on the green card. Okay. All right, so now we've got equal 39. So in this problem, we distributed first, and in this problem, we distributed first. Same, similar problems. All right, now what? Yes, Taylor. Good. And what's going to happen? Well, I guess what I mean is which ones are like terms? Awesome. The negative 5x and the positive 5x are like terms. And what's going to happen here?
They're gonna add up to 0.
Good. So they cross out. Totally. That's kind of nice. It makes the problem easier if all the x's cross out. So we still have x squared, right? And minus 25 and equals 39. So I'm happy that all the x's crossed out because it made the problem shorter. All right, Judah, what's next? Add 25 to both sides, right? Good. And 39 and 25 makes 64. Okay, and then what do you do next, Ethan? Take the square root of both sides, because that gets rid of x squared, right? To get rid of squaring, you square root. Square root both sides. And the square root of 64 is 8, because square root means what times what equals 64. So 8 will do that, right? But also negative 8, because negative 8 times negative 8 is positive 64. So you have to watch out for that. There's two answers when you take the square root. Okay, everybody okay with all the steps on number 5? Everybody was okay with number 3 too, as well? All right, so I'm going to have you do 2 problems on your own, number 1 and number 2. So here they are. So I know it's kind of strange. Number 1 and number 2 are going to be after number 3 and number 4 on your paper. But that's okay. It doesn't bother me. I'll find them. So try 1 and 2, and I'll circle around and help you out. And then after we get done with those, we'll go on to other problems past number 4. can be negative. But the mistake you made is you thought it was both at the same time. It can't be both at the same time. Nice. Thanks. It's pretty good. I like the start. Yeah, you're doing fine. Next, you want to subtract the 17x over. All right, seems like everybody's okay, but let me know if you need some help on one or two. All right, we're going to go on to number 5. So here's number 5. Oh, we're not going to go on to number 5 because we already did 5. Thank you. Let's see. We did 1, 2, 3, 5, 4. I'm leaving for you. So number 7. Thank you for being polite to me. So number 7 is x squared plus 6x plus 8 equals 0. Okay, and I want to compare number 5 with number 7. So here's number 5, and here's number 7. So write this down for this is the next problem we're working on. So you'll have to go back and do 4 on your own at some point because we skipped that and number 6, but now we're on number 7. Okay, so how are number 5 and number 7, how are they alike? How are they the same? Okay, Alex. They both have x squared in them, right? This one has x squared, and so does number 7. Other ways they're alike, Taylor? They're both quadratic. Good. The fancy way to say they have x squared is to say that they're quadratic. So 5 and 7 are both quadratic. Awesome. Other things that make them the same? Okay. How are they different? Yeah, Kieran?
No parentheses.
They both have no parentheses, right? So that's how they're the same. That's another way they're the same. Good. Okay, so Kieran said another way they're the same. They don't have it. Well, I guess maybe you were talking about the start of number 5. I'm sorry. You're right. The start of number 5 has parentheses, and the start of number 7 doesn't have parentheses. Nice. Good thinking. Sorry about that. All right, so how else are they different? Yes, Ethan. Okay, good. Number 5 is equal to 39, and number 7 is equal to 0. Good. How else are they different? Jennifer? Okay, why? What signals that you have to factor? Like, how do you know? Okay, so the x squared and the 6x are not like terms. So that makes the problem harder, is what she's saying. And this one just has an x squared, which makes it easier. Okay, how else are they different? Okay, Ethan? Good. This one is factored already, and this one we're going to have to factor. Yeah, Judah?
They're very similar because you have to change the formula.
Okay, so you're going to change this one to factored, and you're going to change this one to not factored. So both problems you have to change to start out. Nice. Okay, one more thing I want to say. These are all awesome. This one has plain x's in it, and this one doesn't. That's kind of what Ethan said, right? This one just has x squareds. This one has both x squareds and x's. So that's how you know that you can't just take the square root. So one mistake that people make is on this problem, they see the x squared and they think, oh, I'm going to square root. But you can't do that because of the 6x. Over here, it just had x squared. So that's why we were able to square root to figure out the answer, since the only x's were squared. All right, but over here, they've already kind of said, we're going to have to factor to solve it. Okay, so this is method 1. I'm actually going to do this problem 2 different ways. And this is method 1. So when you factor, that means put it into parenthesis form. So what should I put in the parentheses? You don't have to tell me everything, you just tell me part of it. How does it start out? Yes, Maddie. Good. You start out with an x here and an x here, and that's because x times x will come out to x squared. All right, what else, Rachel?
You're gonna have opposite sides.
Okay, because you're thinking, are you thinking negative,
Plus and minus.
plus and minus? All right, why are you saying plus and minus?
Whenever you factor, you have
Okay, so Rachel's saying that every time you factor, you're going to have a plus and a minus. Sometimes actually you have 2 pluses, and sometimes actually you have 2 minuses.
It would be a plus and plus.
This time it's a plus and a plus. Good, because everything's positive. And thanks for, I think sometimes mistakes make the class, the rest of the class might make the same mistake. So I'm impressed that you're willing to do that in front of the class. Thank you for raising your hand. So everybody good with why this is plus and plus? Okay, now the next thing we're looking for is 2 numbers that multiply to be 8. So what are 2 numbers that multiply to be 8? Yeah, Allison. You're up. I need 2 numbers that multiply to be 8. All I'm looking for is 2 numbers that multiply together to be 8. 4 times 2. Awesome. Sorry to surprise you and call on you. I did that to Connor yesterday, so just trying to keep you guys on your toes. Now you guys can meet later and say, that Mr. Early, he's so mean, he calls on people. All right, so 4 times 2 comes out to 8. What else multiplies out to be 8? 8 times 1, right? So that's what I like to think about first when I factor. I try to think of numbers that multiply to be 8. And here there's 2 options. There's 8 times 1, and there's 4 times 2. But which one do we want? Yeah, Maddie? 4 times 2. The reason that one's better is because of this 6. If this was a 9, then we would want the 8 and the 1, right? But since it's a 6, that's why we want the 4 and the 2. So we're going to put plus 4 and plus 2. So I'm going to do this problem twice. This is the factoring method. I took the x squared plus 6x plus 8 and put it into parenthesis form, and now it's factored out. So maybe you know what to do next, but is everybody okay with what we've done so far? All right, so then what comes next? It's been a while maybe since you did a problem like this. Okay, Emma? You put both of them equal to 0. Good, so x plus 4 equals 0, and x plus 2 equals 0. And then after that it's easy. You just subtract the 4 to get negative 4, and subtract the 2 to get negative 2. Okay, but I would like to do this problem a second way because there's a second option for solving quadratics. And we talked about this yesterday. The other option is the quadratic formula. So that's the opposite of b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. How do you know what a, b, and c are? Yes, Charlie?
It's the three numbers that are part of the quadratic formula. So x is a, 6 is b, and 8 is c.
Good, so this 6 is b, and this 8 is c, and then a is a little bit tricky. A has to be a number. There's not a number there, so what is it? Yes, Rachel?
1.
Good, you can stick a 1 in front of there and it doesn't change the problem, right? So a is 1. Okay, so I'm going to take these three numbers, 1, 6, and 8, and plug them into this formula. So since b is 6, the opposite of b is negative 6. And then 6 squared is 36. And then it's 4 times a times c. So 4 times 1 times 8 in this case, divided by 2 times a. So that's a big, long formula, right? So factoring is quicker, but it's harder. Whereas this one's a little bit more of a pain, but it's just a formula. For some people, it's easier because you can just plug numbers into it. So it doesn't matter to me which way you do it. This is how you solve a quadratic. So next I'm going to multiply things out. 4 times 1 times 8 is 32. And 2 times 1 is 2. So from this step to this step, I'm just multiplying. The 4, the 1, and the 8, and the 2 times 1. Then I can recopy the other stuff. Recopy the minus, and the 36, and the square root, and the plus or minus, and the negative 6. Okay, then 36 minus 32 is 4. So I got negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 4 all over 2. So from this step to this step, that was easy. I just took 36 minus 32 and got 4. And then the square root of 4 is 2. So I've got negative 6 plus or minus 2 over 2. And then this plus and minus means two things. It's negative 6 plus 2, and then later negative 6 minus 2. So negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4, and negative 6 minus 2 is negative 8. I have to do both of those. The plus gives me negative 4, and the minus gives me negative 8. And then negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2, and negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. So then I get my two answers. And now I can breathe a sigh of relief because I got the same answers as I got before, right? If I do the problem twice, I better get the same answers. So it's always risky. If I just do the problem once, if I make a mistake, probably nobody's going to be awake and notice. But if I do it twice, you'd all notice if I made a mistake. So I was sweating a little bit there, a little bit nervous. Whew. I wasn't really nervous. But anyway, just trying to be funny. I know I'm not funny, trust me. Yeah, thanks for laughing, Connor. I appreciate it. Yeah. So at least you get a laughing at me laugh. That's good. All right, so everybody good with quadratic formula? Everybody good with factoring? You can choose either one. You don't have to do both. I just did both so that you would know it's okay to do either one. All right, the last problem I'm going to do on the board is number 11. And this is 16x squared minus 25 equals 0. Does this one have a regular x in it? No, it doesn't. So that is a relief because that means we don't have to factor or quadratic formula. Since it just has x squareds in it, it's easier than number 7. We can just add the 25. So add the 25 to the other side. And then divide by the 16. And again, you could get a decimal. Kieran might go ahead and divide it out and get a decimal. That would be fine. But you can leave it as a fraction also if you want. What did you get for the decimal, Kieran?
1.5625.
So not as bad as the other one, but still kind of nasty. Then what? Square root, right? So what I'm trying to emphasize is if the problem just has an x squared, you can solve it by square rooting. But if the problem has both x squared and x, then you're stuck with factoring or quadratic formula. So this will come out to, the square root of 25 is 5. The square root of 16 is 4. So the answer is 5/4. Or negative 5/4. Because remember, when you take a square root, you get 2 answers. All right, everybody okay with number 11? Okay, so I'm going to pass out the paper now, and what you're going to finish tonight